asked a question to all the panelists, because we listen to these moderators and we listen to the commentary on supply and demand, but at the end of the day, the trading community wants to know how much is the production, how much is the consumption, and what is the price which is a consensus level. So we asked our distinguished panelists, that time, 3 or 4 of them, that what is expectation of the price of large size Kabuli chickpeas in the months of March, April, May. The convention was in February. And the award to encourage them was also a $5,000 prize. So I'm going to tell you the results and what happened after that. So we had 3 answers. From Rajat, we had, because the crop expectation was huge, so we had the expectation of $1,100 to $1,150 from Rajat. We had Albert, $1,200 to $1,250 per metric ton FOB. Sanjay predicted a price of $1,300 to $1,350. And so I kind of got confused. So I asked them, I said, why don't you tell me a price in a band to them and to the other exporters, and then I will either buy at that price or sell at that price with a difference of about $100. But I didn't find any takers. So then I added all the price together and divided by 3. So I came back with the price of $1,225. This was my simple way to figure out the pricing band. And this is what happened. So we had average of 1,300, 1,500, 1,700, which today has become little less because of devaluation of Indian rupees. So probably it's about 16, Rajat? Is it 1660 today for 42, 44? 1660, yeah, so about $30, $40 less. But average about $1,500. So we were wrong by about $200 in our $200 to $300 in our calculation. So all of us, 3, including me, we were wrong in predicting the right price band, which told us something. This was that the market has the ability to remain insane or illogical longer than our ability to comprehend the market or remain solvent. And in all the countries where there are no reliable trade estimates, the guesstimates are pure guesses, nothing else. So with this backdrop, I'll show you some quick slides, and then we'll go to our panelists quickly, and we'll try to make it very brief so that we have some holistic observations and conclusions. This is a chart of 9mm Canadian chickpeas, 3-year graph, Turkish chickpeas, Mexican chickpeas. All this presentation will be available on the website, so you could look at there as well. The idea is to show you the trend of bullish trend in recent years. USA chickpeas 10mm. Now these last figures, if you look at, the Indian figure of 450,000 tons has changed as per Brian Clancy's presentation yesterday, 350,000 tons. And Mexico is about 180,000 to 200,000. These are the figures coming out from Mexico. Now, Indian exports in last 4 years have been ranging from 150 to 160,000 tons to 200,000 tons in the last year. Current year data is not available. This is from Director General of Foreign Trade. Major importers of large size Kabulis, when we are talking about, is 58, 60, all the way to 38, 40. Is global demand, if you put together, is about 230 to 240,000 tons. This is the demand. So this is the backdrop. Now, David, you came from a very important and exporting origin. So we start with you. We'll show the audience your presentation, and then you can make a commentary about the production, what is the scenario for this year, and how do you see the market?
These figures are the top 10 exporters from Mexico origin to these destinations. Last year we presented in Barcelona an estimation. You can see in 2011 it says at the bottom 39,000 metric tons. Last year when I presented in Barcelona, my estimation was about 37,000 metric tons. So I wasn't too wrong about the estimation. So I'm hoping this year with the numbers I will give you that I won't be too wrong, but you will tell me next year if I was or if I wasn't. In the last column, you can see the 2012 exports up until the month of April. There were 45,000 metric tons exported out of Mexico. And you can see at the top the main importers, and then at the bottom the rest is 15,000 metric tons. You can go to the next slide, please. This is the Sinaloa production for 2012. This total Mexico exports, I divided from the regions. There are 4 regions. The top 2 are Sinaloa, and those are proving right because already they are about to finish the crop in Sinaloa. So you can see the number of hectares and the totals at the right side. So Mexico is going to produce this year not a record crop, but a crop that we have not seen in 10 years. In 2001, there was a record export of 200,000 metric tons. And since then, we had not seen this big volume. So out of those 227,000 metric tons production, there will be an estimation of 181,000 metric tons from Mexico available this year. And at the bottom, you can see how much it has been exported. And there is an estimation of myself that I think, and from the information I have, that another 40,000 are sold already, yet to be shipped. So you can see at the very bottom, there's about 100,000 metric tons still available in Mexico to be sold to the markets. So we're talking about a big harvest here, so that's what I want to discuss with the panelists, on how big is really the market, what is going to happen. And in the last slide, that's the help I'm going to ask for the rest of the panelists to fill us out with the information we need, especially from Turkey and from India, where there has not been very precise information. And I will pass, well, this is my estimation on how much will be the exports, the demand. We have 180,000, but the demand I see 150,000. So on my numbers, I see there is more from Mexico than the market will demand. So those are the numbers I want to discuss with the audience.
Okay, so this is the sheet of projected Mexican Kabuli exports of this year. This is what you have. Rajat, what is your take on old numbers of Indian production, revision, and your expectation about the tonnage which will be exported, and also the breakup of what sizes will come out?
Well, what we discussed in IPGA, I believe those figures are more or less irrelevant now, because what climate has done to Indian chickpeas in India, it's really difficult to predict now. When we met in Mumbai in IPGA, we were expecting a crop of around 400,000 to 450,000 metric tons in India, of which we expected the larger caliber to be around 50 to 60%. But unfortunately, as you all know, that there are no exact data available in India. We can only make estimates and guesses. And by speaking to a lot of people, to farmers, to traders, to exporters, I have arrived to a conclusion that we might be having a sum total of around 350,000 metric tons this year, which is again a guess. Okay, there's no exact figure available in India. Out of which I would say a specific region which is growing only the 8 mm and 9 mm would be somewhere around. Out of which a specific region which is growing only the 7 mm and the 8 mm would be somewhere around 70 to 80,000 metric tons. Rest of it, which is grown in the central region of India, which is the Sinaloa, Blanca Sinaloa type, which we all know. And the 70-80,000 is the Hispaniola type, which is grown in India in another region. Now, out of this 300,000 tons, or we say, let's say around 250,000 tons of Blanca Sinaloa, which is estimated to come now. I believe the crop started coming in India in the month of January, and we, as I was discussing with Sanjay Bhai, we expect that almost 50,000 metric tons have already been exported out of India. Roughly 1,500 to 2,000 containers have already been exported out of India, which includes large caliber as well as small caliber. Now the question lies is, again, till what time are we going to, keep on holding the product in India? Because Indian farmer, which has seen his raw material selling in the month of October last year at around $1,600 levels, is pretty reluctant to sell the remaining product. And he expects that the market will go further up and he'll get even better prices as compared to what is received for his product last year in India. Apart from that, there are certain regions where this Kabuli chickpeas is grown, which has experienced severe climatic conditions in the month of February, because of which around 50% to 75% damages have been expected and seen in the fields. So the farmers from those areas who would require seeds to be seeded next year, and also to, who became bullish on the chickpeas crop, went to other regions to buy chickpeas from other farmers, and they have bought some chickpeas from them and they've kept in the stocks till now, which they'll sell or they'll keep it till the end of October to be seeded in their fields next year. Apart from that, what we have seen is the caliber problem in India. Last year, the crop was pretty fine in shape, size, quality, quantity. We had seen decent 40 to 44 caliber was being made in India, and the rough percentage of 40 to 44 which was coming out of the raw material was around 60-65%. But this year, unfortunately, there is no 40 to 44. Everybody keeps asking about 40 to 44, but there is no 40 to 44 in India. Because the moisture levels in February were good. The moisture was around 11% levels, so there was a possibility to make 40 to 44, but right now, the moisture levels in Indian chickpeas have dropped to around 8.5 to 9%, so it's pretty difficult to make 40 to 44. So in terms of larger caliber, only 44, 46 is available in India. And that too, it's coming at around 40 to 45% of the raw material. So there is certainly a shortage of larger caliber in India. As you can see, 20% shortage in terms of the caliber percentage, and the crop shortage because of the climatic conditions is there. So there's certainly a shortage of larger caliber in India.
It has to do Mexico too, but let me start with USA and Canada. In Canada, there will be no carryover of mostly any chickpeas, mainly 8 and 9 millimeter, but due to high prices currently and the lack of carryover, I expect there to be an increase in acreage for new crop. Originally, they were talking about 290,000 acres. They've increased that to 340,000 acres, which equates to about 240,000 metric tons. From this total, I expect about 160,000 tons of Kabuli type chickpeas. However, as you well know with other pulses like lentils, in Canada, with no carryover, one must watch the weather very closely, and that could cause a very volatile market. In the USA, there also will be no carryover, and because of that, the new crop is expected to increase. I expect the production will be for 8 and 9 millimeters, about 120,000 tons. I would say almost 2 to 1, a little bit more than that, no, a little less than that, sorry, for 8 and 9 millimeters. The others will be 7 millimeters and Desi type. But once again, with no carryover, you could have a very volatile weather factor, and that situation will remain through the growing season. In Mexico, originally they expected well over 200,000 metric tons, but now I agree with my colleague David. I'm saying 180,000 tons It could be a little more, a little less, depending on the yields. But the problem with Mexico, there's been many sales between, let's say, 1160 CFR to 1250 CFR. I expect from that many defaults, renegotiations, and delays, because I'm calling the market now more or less worldwide 1,600 per metric ton CFR based on a 42.44. Some companies, even in Mexico, prefer to offer 44.46. Now, as usual, I added my opinion about overall. No carryover in Canada, no carryover in the US, no carryover from Mexican old crop, and no carryover in Turkey. No carryover in India. It's not part of my topic, but thank you. So, because of no carryover and the large increase in price, I expect both in India and in Mexico a short squeeze, especially for calibers 40-42 and 42-44, especially in India. And based on that, I do not expect the markets to go down. When you have no carryovers, in my opinion, just based on original numbers from India and mainly Mexico, my opinion is with absolutely no carryovers, one should not sell very short because there can be other factors such as happened in India, and because of that, I still maintain that there will be defaults, renegotiations, washouts, and a lot of arguments. In the US, currently 9mm chickpeas have traded to Europe, mainly, at $1,375 to $1,400 CIF for both current crop and new crop. So, in summation, with all these volatile markets and what I call a short squeeze, with Indian prices being higher and having absolutely, as I understand it, no 40-42 or 42-44, I don't expect the market to go down. And, you know, I want to ask my colleague, even though there may be that quantity of 100,000 tons, metric tons, remaining in Mexico, you know you have Turkey buying and you have India buying. And you don't know when that's going to stop. So if Turkey continues, a lot of that Turkish, I think about over 20,000 tons have been sold to Turkey. A lot of that may go to Iraq and other countries. But if India continues to buy 42-44, I think this will increase and enhance, you know, the Mexican crop to almost clean up. So I don't expect, with India being higher in price for 42-44, I see no reason why prices in Mexico will go down, and in fact, I expect them to go up further.
Sanjay, production figures and surplus of possibility of what percentage and the tonnage of exports?
As Sudhakar started rightly, that this has been a year of guesstimates and with wrong guesstimates at IPGA.
Including me.
So it has been a year of errors. We were wrong on the production side, we were wrong on the price side. And now I think the production figure from India has been very well summed up by Mr. Rajat. We discussed the production figures, and after that he's given these figures, and I more or less agree with those figures. And we underestimated the capacity of farmers to hold the stocks in India. We were expecting very bearish prices, but farmers in India are now strong enough, they are financially very strong to hold the cargo, and they will not sell their cargo at a lower price no matter what happens. And as I agree totally with Paul, that there has been no carryover stocks. This is what happened in the month of February also when Indian crop started. There was absolutely no carryover stocks in the world market. Forget India, forget US, Mexico, anywhere. There were no stocks at the origin, at the consumption center. Resulted into sudden spike in the prices. As of today, the price from India is around 1625 to 1650 FOB. And I don't see any reason for the market to really collapse. The market will trade in a narrow range of maybe plus minus 5%. With demand continuing from, basically from Indian subcontinent, the demand will remain, and I guess in future the demand will remain robust, especially from Indian subcontinent. So that's how, and the figures, Indian production figures have been very well summed up by Mr. Rajat, so I don't want to repeat those figures.
First of all, I fully agree with David's figures, and I would say that at least those are the real figures. We will see maybe after Sonora and Baja California finish their harvesting. Generally speaking, and if India would not be in this game, taking into consideration this reported 180,000 metric tons from Mexico, with an estimated demand of 150,000 tons in the whole world, I repeat, without taking into account India, okay? It is pretty obvious that there are, I'm also always talking about 42, 44, 40, 42, okay? This is my analysis. I want to say that taking into consideration this statement, there are enough chickpeas of big size in the world to meet the demand. Okay. But if India plays in the game, as we have seen in the chickpeas conclave and the new figures reported, everything can change or is changing. What I mean is that their demand is moving to Mexico, and as a result of this, prices have been much firmer, okay? So, as a result of this, major markets like Spain, for example, they have missed the market, meaning that they have sold short, and now they have to go and cover their needs by paying a much higher price.
I'd like to ask my Indian colleagues, I've been getting a lot of really different opinions as to what the quality is of, let's say, a 44, 46 chickpea in India. I've heard very bad quality, the quality is okay. I'd like one of them to comment on it.
I think the quality of 44, 46 is pretty okay, and it should be similar to what we offered last year. Quality-wise, 44, 46, there is absolutely no problem. However, if you talk about the smaller caliber like 7 mm for the Blanca Sinaloa type, there is definitely, the climate has taken its toll on the quality, and the defect percentage in 7 mm and 8 mm have definitely increased by 3 or 4%.
We have a record production in Mexico, so that's one key message. Then in India, we have revision of the production figures from 450,000 to 350,000 tons, including all sizes. Then Paul is worried about the extremely low or no carryover from USA, Canada, and Mexico. Sanjay agreeing with the production figures, and Albert agreeing with David for the production figures in Mexico. So then what we do is...
Can I add something?
Yes.
Okay, I have a question for the Indian partners here. How much India will import Kabulis, your estimate? Because, I mean, I think you're playing a very risky game, really. And you're saying that farmers will hold the product at their warehouses. You think that is not going to have weevil damage, and all of a sudden they will come out to the market and offer a big volume? I mean, we have to be realistic here and give the numbers, because you're not giving the numbers and you're saying all is a guess in India,
No, there are no statistics. For me, that is not true. You have to be honest and give the numbers. And we want to know, everybody wants to know the demand. What is the demand from India and from Turkey? Because I can tell you the rest of the countries are pretty similar every year. Algeria, we know Mexico export 30, 40,000 every year. And except from last year, Spain, every year they do 30,000, 40,000 tons imports. But India and Turkey are the ones that come into the market some years, they buy big quantities, and other years you don't see them. So I have statistics for 10 years, and I can show everybody those statistics. But we want to see, we don't want to live in speculation. That's why we come to these conventions, to share the information. So we expect for you and for Turkey to share their information.
This problem of not having the reliable data is not only special to India, this is also special to, this is very common in our industry. That's why we need to have an unified approach so that we move away from fragmented. And the whole purpose of having these panel discussions so that we have buyers, sellers, brokers, and consumers, everything together on one platform so that we can address these kind of issues. So, Rajat, would you like to take this question?
Sudhakar, one thing, you're from India. You know, what's the situation of statistics in India? Can anybody predict, anybody? I'm not talking about myself. I have given a figure of 350,000, but even you know that figure may
is again a
be
guesstimate.
grossly wrong.
Is again, as I said, it's again a guesstimate.
You might not even get 300,000 because nobody can make an estimate of Indian crop because there are no exact data available, no idea of how much acreage has been planted, no idea of how much yield we are getting in an area. There's absolutely nothing. We can only make calculations at the end of the year when we get to know how much is exported out of India and how much has been sold domestically by various traders. That again, we can get only data from around 10, 15 traders who have been doing most of the business in domestic markets. But apart from that, it's a very chaotic market. Nobody can make exact guesses in terms of either the crop estimation or the acreage planted or the yields or the prices.
There is nothing like crop insurance in India, and the size of the farms relatively are very small in India, so it is really very difficult to give a perfect figure on the output in Indian market. As far as question about India importing large caliber chickpeas, if I'm not wrong, India has already contracted for around 1,000 containers from Mexico, roughly, and with the bright prices in the place, India may buy more. India has the capacity to buy more. But that is definitely subject to prices. And historically, we have seen Mexico has traded almost at a premium of $100 to $200 from India. And this has been the year when Mexico is selling cheaper than India. If you can answer that question for me, why is it so? Historically, Mexico has always sold at least at a premium of $100 to $200. And this year it has been selling at a discount of $100 to $200.
So we see it from the premium, it came to parity, and now there's a discount. So
why is it so?
David.
I reply.
Albert want to answer that. Paul.
One comment. The key of why, my presentation, David's and Albert's, to me, they're just numbers. The key to the whole chickpea 42-44 complex is India. I've heard a production of 250,000 tons, but I think it's very correct how many 42-44 or larger, or maybe even 44-46, will India import? Because I still say as long as Indian prices are higher than Mexican chickpeas, Mexico will go up. But India is the total key to the ultimate tonnages and prices of what will happen for chickpeas this year.
The reason why the prices of Mexico have been lower than India at the very beginning of the season is very clear. The production they estimated in the very beginning. We reported only in Sinaloa almost 90,000 hectares seeded of chickpeas. With the weather and the positive weather conditions coming, they estimated a very big crop, which we have already seen right now. So that is the reason why the prices have been lower than India, because they were very, very sure about their crop size.
So, as if this is not enough, we have a new entrant, those who attended the emerging market scenario. We have Ethiopia also producing now large size Kabulis, if not now, maybe next season. The Tadros Yilmaz was here, and he said that Ethiopia will be producing 9, 10, and 11 millimeter. So that also you need to factor in the next selling seasons. Please, we're continuing something. And to get a more objective opinion to sort out the bullish and bearish ideas.
How much of larger caliber would India be importing? Right. I would like to say, as long as there is gap in Indian markets within the demand and the supply, we would continue to import Mexican stuff. Because, you know, Indian chickpeas started coming in the month of January, and it's been like end April now. And March and April, Feb, March and April are these 3 months when the farmer brings majority of its product into the market. Roughly 60–65% of the total production of farmers is sold into the market in these 3 months. Because, you know, normally farmer wants money after the crop has come. And whatever has come in Indian market has not gone into stocking, has not gone into cold storages, has not gone into any warehouses. It has been straight away gone for consumption, be it domestic market, be it the Indian subcontinent, or be it Turkey for the Feb shipment, where they have to meet their prompt demands. They came back to India because India has a very shorter transit time to most of the consuming countries. So whatever we have seen coming to Indian market was consumed straight away. Because I've been speaking to traders, I've been speaking to processors, I've been speaking to exporters, and most of them say they don't have any product which has gone into stocking.
So if the pricing gap remains there for them to have the inducement to import, that will continue.
Definitely.
So David, you will have
above Mexican, they will definitely buy the Mexican stuff.
Right. And David, so you have another new market for Mexican Kabuli chickpeas.
This is very interesting information because you know, the big demand now comes from the countries that are gaining prosperity, no? So this is something that is a recent change, no? In the last, say, 5 years, things have changed quite substantially in those regions, no? So we don't know how much more is going to consume those markets because there is prosperity. The Middle East has they are having changes that are demanding more and more products. So that is a question ourselves have, no? That we don't know how big is this market, how much more is now taking, because in the past they used to import only smaller quantities, 5,000 tons, the most it was 10,000, 15,000 tons. So now we have to continue gathering this information, no, to be certain how big these markets are, no, and to be prepared, no, to supply those markets, no. We're glad to supply them. I'm a seller of chickpeas, no, so.
Esteemed colleagues, if Indian exporters sold 42.44 and they can't get them, what will be the result? Will the buyers accept a smaller size, or will they want washouts, or what's your opinion of what will happen?
I think before we go there, let's quickly put a sense into it. Considering these bearish and bullish scenarios, or the good production and the no carryover, I once again ask you to tell us the price range for coming months, say May, June, July, with a price range of say $1,500. What will be the price range for 42, 44 equivalent Kabulis? That will really put the sense into this panel discussion, because the proof of pudding is in eating. So with all these discussions, and if we have that price range, that will be of tremendous benefit to our audience. David, we start with you. What do you think in the next 3 months or in 2 months will be the price range? Sorry to put you in the spot, but this is what we have come here for.
I don't want to add much more because maybe some people will want to crucify me here, so.
It's just your idea. You're not being crucified, not being held for selling that price. But this is something we need to know.
I don't know. I think it has reached some level that will sustain. So everywhere between $1,500 would be my guess.
Right. So 1,500 is the number coming from David. We move on to Rajat.
I would say that, you know, I predicted a price in IPGA which was like
We make mistakes
way above.
all the time. It's absolutely fine.
But sincerely, we have to predict in a $50
50.
range.
50 is a good range.
I don't know. We could see prices as low as $1,550 and as high as say around $1,700 maybe. It all depends upon how the demanding countries, you know, come out in the market to fulfill their demands. Because I believe Mexicans are already sold out till May, June. They're not offering May, June anymore. They're offering June, July. Or maybe some of them are offering May as well. And the transit time being too high to cover their immediate demands from for the demanding countries, they'll have to certainly look back to India. And the Indian market, the prices have been so sensitive that even a small demand of 10 to 15 containers can spike the price by, say, around $40 to $60 in a day's time. So I cannot really say, I cannot really predict the price in the $50 range, but I would say $1,600 would be my price.
So $1,600 to $1,700. That's what is your take now.
15 to 17.
1550 to 1,700. Paul?
My opinion is a low of 1550, although I've already traded at this convention at 1600. I would say, okay, a low of 1550 and a high of 1850. Because if Turkey and India still buy, as well as Algeria, and as Albert correctly said, Spain has bought almost nothing, I can't see, I repeat, as long as the Indian chickpeas are higher than Mexico, I cannot see it going down at all, but I can see it going up.
Sanjay?
Oh, I do agree with Paul. As long as Indian chickpeas prices are higher, India will keep buying Mexico. Because if you're getting it for cheaper than Indian, and in Indian market, we sell Mexican at a premium of at least 3 to 4 rupees a kg. That's another information. So I would put the price range at 1,700 plus minus 5%.
Thank you. Albert?
We're talking about CNF prices, right?
We're talking about FOB prices to take
FOB?
away, yeah, to take away, or the CNF $50 difference, so it's
CNF,
fine. Yeah, you can make CNF as well. That's fine.
Okay, we'll give you two extreme prices. Let's be a little bit different.
Don't give a range which
No, it's not a range.
we don't know where to go.
It's not a range. If, like we said, India has the key to determine what's going on, if India is still demanding or will increase the demand, I agree with the extreme price of 1850 of Paul on the high side. But if we would take India part of the game, as I said on my presentation, my figure would be, if Mexico is meeting the demand, $1,300.
$1,300.
But I repeat, if India wouldn't take part of the game, okay?
This is the true answer coming from somebody who's an economist and a management professional. Everything is relative. I need you to, so let's start extending.
You made me to pass this 2 months ago. We all were wrong, so we're a bit safer
so
today.
1,300 in scenario 1, and the other price? If they're
if
not
India
in the, yes, remain in the market?
demanding?
Yes.
1850 at the higher
1850,
range?
1850.
If India would stop demanding, my price would be $1,300.
So gentlemen and ladies, we have lots of work cut out for us to separate where we put our number from 1,300 to 1,850. And we have some time left to take some questions and answers. I encourage all the people who are in Kabuli chickpeas business, especially the canners and processors, if they have any quality issues, if they have pricing related issues, this is as good as it gets.